Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatiruttamaśloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 16, Jaya and Vijaya, cursed by the sages. So, we are in the section where the Supreme Lord is now glorifying Kumāra and especially Brāhmaṇas, and here more precisely Vaishnava Brāhmaṇas as the class, those who are specifically the Vaishnavas. So, we come to text 12. Tanme svabhartur avasaya alakshamaṇam युष्मद् व्यतिक्रमगतिं प्रतिपद्य सद्यः भूयो ममान्तिकां कमितां तदनुग्रहो मे यत्कल्पतां चरितो भृतयोर्विवासः. Translation.
These servants of mine have transgressed against you, not knowing the mind of their master. I shall therefore deem it a favor done to me if you order that, although reaping the fruit of their transgression, they may return to my presence soon, and the time of their exile from my abode may expire before long. Purport. From this statement, we can understand how anxious the Lord is to get his servitor back into Vaikuṇṭha. This incident therefore proves that those who have once entered a Vaikuṇṭha planet can never fall down. The case of Jaya and Vijaya is not a fall down, it is just an accident. The Lord is always anxious to get such devotees back again to the Vaikuṇṭha planets as soon as possible. It is to be assumed that there is no possibility of a misunderstanding between the Lord and the devotees. But when there are discrepancies or disruptions between one devotee and another, one has to suffer the consequences, although that suffering is temporary. The Lord is so kind to his devotees that he took all the responsibility for the doorman's offense and requested the sages to give them facilities to return to Vaikuṇṭha as soon as possible. Hare Krishna.
Now the Lord says, these servants of mine transgressed against you without knowing my mind, but without knowing the mind of their master. But they return to my presence as soon as possible, albeit they should be respecting the curse that is being awarded to them. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that this shows how the Lord is anxious to get back his devotees back home to Vaikuṇṭha. In fact, in one place, Srila Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita, Lord is more anxious to get the devotees back than the devotee can imagine. Okay, so how anxious we are, how much we can imagine. This moment I should back in the spiritual world. Lord is more anxious than that. So Lord is more anxious to get his devotees back home than a devotee can imagine. And this shows the very essential quality of Vaikuṇṭha. What is that quality? Yad gatva na nivartante taddhama paramam mama. That's once being attained the Vaikuṇṭha, one will never come back to this material world. Now, in case of Jaya and Vijaya, there was an accident. Neither they intentionally stopped. They just accidentally stopped Chatushkumar. And Chatushkumar also gave a very severe curse to Jaya and Vijaya simply for stopping at the entrance. So there is no question of misunderstanding between the Lord and his devotees in the Vaikuṇṭha planets. But there can be a misunderstanding between devotee and another devotee. And there will be some consequences, although the nature of these consequences will be very temporary. Now, in spite of such misunderstanding amongst the devotees, the Lord is always very kind to his devotees. And this is the repeated theme in Srimad Bhagavatam, that Bhagavan is Bhakta Vatsala. In this case, he is taking complete responsibility and is requesting the sages that give them the facility. Although they have offended you in one way, please make sure that they will come back to me as early as possible, because I cannot live without my devotees. Now the sages began to speak. Brahmo vacha athatasya asatasyoshatim devim Rushikulyam Saraswatim Nasvadyamanyam Drashtanam Teshamatma Apitrupyatah. Translation.
Translation. Brahma continued, even though the sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not satiated with hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech, which was like a series of Vedic hymns. Hare Krishna.
So, Atrupyat, this personality, although these Rishikulas, now Brahmaji began to narrate to the demigods, the sages had been bitten by the serpent of the anger. So anger is very dangerous. One has to be really conscious that I am becoming angry and I am letting anger rule over me. So, that is the Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna, one will be conscious of which vice is ruling over oneself. That is the mode of Sattva Guna. And devotee has to very critically save oneself, especially from three things: Kama, Lobha and Krodha. Trividham Narakesyadam. So, although here the sages, they were bitten by the anger, the serpent of the anger, their souls were unsatiated with hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech. So they saw the personality of Godhead in front of them, and the Lord is speaking so beautiful words. And these words are called as Rushikulyam. Rushikulyam means they are like the strings of the Vedic pearls. The series of what is Vedas? Vedas is the explanation by the Supreme Lord. Apaurushaya they are. So whatever Lord Krishna speaks, Lord speaks, becomes Veda. And here the same Lord is speaking. And they could hear, it was like in a beautiful meter, beautiful voice, personality of Godhead. They're directly hearing the Veda personified and the Vedas through the lotus mouth of the Supreme Lord. So now here in this section from text 13 to 15, here we see the situation of the four Kumaras, how they are stunned by the beauty, appearance, grace, magnanimity, speech, everything of the Lord. Right. And all this stunning is waiting for every individual personality, because everybody is a Vaikuṇṭhavasi. Everybody has his right in the spiritual world. Text 14. Satim vyadaya shrunvanto lagvim guru arthagaram vigaya gadha gambiran vidu na vidu tat chikirishitam. Translation.
Lord's excellence is difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well. But although hearing, they could not understand what he intended to do. Purport. It should be understood that no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead in speaking. There is no difference between the Supreme Person and his speeches, for he stands on the absolute platform. The sages tried with wide open ears to understand the words from the lips of the Supreme Lord, But although his speech was very concise and meaningful, the sages could not completely comprehend what he was saying. They could not even comprehend the purport of the speech or what the Supreme Lord wanted to do. Nor could they understand whether the Lord was angry or pleased with them.
So here now, the Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of his momentous import and its most profound significance. So the sages were stunned at the persona of the Lord and the speech that he was speaking. They heard every word with wide open ears and pondered as well, but they were unable to comprehend the import of this speech. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, Asama Urdhvaha. When the Lord is called Asama Urdhva, that means he is Asama Urdhva in every aspect of his life. Right? And this is the real Aishwarya of the Lord. In the material world, somebody may be good at something, but he will be bad at so many other things, right? Somebody may be dhanavan, but he may be very, a dumbo person who has no intelligence. Somebody may be very intelligent, but he may become old. Somebody may be very old. Somebody may be very knowledgeable, but he may not be very rich or beautiful. But the Supreme Lord, and that's why he is called Bhagavan, because he excels in all the opulences unlimitedly, everlastingly, simultaneously. Three things. Unlimited opulence, Aishwaryasya samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashashashriyah, Jnana Vairagyayoschaiva, Shannam Bhagaitinganaha. This is Bhagavan. This is how Parashar Muni defines Bhagavan. So one is unlimitedly, simultaneously. All opulences exist in the Lord simultaneously. And they are ever. Not that, they are rich in one day and, the another day declare one's bankruptcy and say that, this bank is now bankrupt. No. And this, the same opulence with the speech of the Supreme Lord, the super excellent speech of the Lord, and the emblem of this super excellent speech is Bhagavad Gita, right? So Bhagavad Gita is very dear to devotees. Why? Because it is directly Lord Krishna speaking, Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti, to his devotee and to his Sakha Arjuna there, right? Now here, Prabhupada says, here the Supreme Lord is directly speaking, and there is no difference between Lord and his speech. Bhagavad Gita is non-different than Sri Krishna himself. All the sages were hearing, stunned with their wide open ears, trying to understand these very concise and meaningful words, but they were unable to comprehend. They were unable to ascertain. The Lord is saying that I will cut off my hand. I receive all my power by worshipping brāhmaṇas like you. And by receiving power from you, I become so powerful that I can purify even Ganga, and which is taken over by Lord Shiva. So they were unable to understand what the Lord is speaking, whether he is angry or pleased, or, so they were completely stunned in this way. Text 15. Te yogamayam arabdha parameshthya mahodayam Rojuh pranjalayo vipra prahishta kshubitatvataha tatvachaha. Translation?
The four Brahmana sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord, who had revealed the multi glories of the Supreme Personality through his internal potency Yogamaya. Purport: the sages were almost too puzzled to speak before the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the first time, and the hairs of their bodies stood erect due to their extreme joy. The highest opulence in the material world is called Parameshthaya, the opulence of Brahma. But that material opulence of Brahma, who lives on the topmost planet within this material world, cannot compare to the opulence of the Supreme Lord, because the transcendental opulence in the spiritual world is caused by Yogamaya, whereas the opulence in the material world is caused by Mahamaya.
Now the sages, they were extremely delighted to behold the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They experience thrill throughout their bodies. Romanchakam Pashrutaranga Bhajo. So this is the experience. Romancha Kampa Ashrutaranga Bhajo. Vande Guru Sri Charana Arvindam. This is how we glorify the spiritual master in the morning. And as they began to speak to the Lord, who revealed the multi-glories of the Supreme Personality through his Yoga Maya. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the sages were too puzzled to speak. And thus, they were they were just casually walking through, crossed the sixth gate of Vaikuṇṭha, about to enter the seventh gate, and suddenly this instance happened. Instantly, the Lord was there. He's speaking the beautiful words. And they were completely stunned and puzzled. And the opulence that they experienced, it was far beyond Parameshtya. So what is Parameshtya? Prabhupada writes, Parameshtya means the opulence of Lord Brahma. And this word will come many times in Bhagavatam. Na Parameshtyam, very famous prayers of Vritrasur, he says that, Nana Kaprishtham, Nacha Parameshtyam. So he's saying that, my dear Lord, I'm not looking for even the highest material opulence within the material world. So Prabhupada says the opulence of the material world, they come from Mahamaya, whereas the opulence of the spiritual world comes from Yoga Maya. And just like any amount of matter cannot be compared to spirit, similarly, any amount of Mahamaya pleasure cannot be compared to even a fraction of the pleasure of Yoga Maya. Text 16. Now, text 16 to 25, we are in the third section of this chapter, where Sanat-kumāra, they are going to reply, Lord Narayana. So very beautiful prayers that they are going to offer. Rishya urchuhu navayam bhagavan vidvans tavadeva chikershitam kruto me anugrahoteschi yadaksha prabhashase. Translation.
The sages said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do. For even though you are the supreme ruler of all, you speak in our favor as if we had done something good for you. Purport. The sages could understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is above everyone, was speaking as if he were in the wrong. Therefore, it was difficult for them to understand the words of the Lord. They could understand, however, that the Lord was speaking in such a humble way just to show them his all-merciful favor.
So now the sages began to say, we are unable to know what you intended to do. Should we continue with the curse? You are speaking as if we have done great favor on you, and you are speaking with so much of humility. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the Lord is Asamamurdva, he is above everyone, and as he is speaking as if he has done personally something wrong. And therefore the sages were even more puzzled, and it was very difficult for them to understand why the Lord is speaking in such a humble way. And this is how actually he was showing his all-merciful nature to this Sanat-kumāra. Text 17. ब्रह्मणस्य परम दैवं ब्राह्मणा किल ते प्रभो विप्राणां देवदेवानां भगवान् आत्मदैवतम्. Translation.
Translation, O Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahminical culture. Your considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also. Purport, in the Brahma Samhita, it is clearly stated that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. There are undoubtedly many demigods, the chiefs of whom are Brahma and Shiva. Lord Viṣṇu is the Lord of Brahma and Shiva, not to speak of the Brahmanas in this material world. As mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord is very favorable towards all activities performed according to Brahminical culture or the qualities of control of the senses and mind, cleanliness, forbearance, faith in scripture, and practical and theoretical knowledge. The Lord is the super soul of everyone. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord is the source of all emanations. Thus, he is also the source of Brahma and Shiva. Hare Krishna.
The sages began to say, O Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahminical culture. So the Lord's proposition is, the Lord is saying, I receive all my powers by worshipping Brahmanas like you. And now here, this Brahmanas are saying, Chatushkumar, that actually you are the supreme director for the Brahminical culture. And you are considering Brahmanas to be in the highest position is your own example of teaching others. And Srila Prabhupada has already clarified, these are the Vaishnava Brahmanas, right? Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity to whom Vipranam Deva Devanam Bhagavan Atma Devatam. For all the Vipras and all the Devatas, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, you are the supreme worshipable deity. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Brahma Samhita confirms that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. And when he's Sarva Karana Karanam, he is also the Karana of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Right? Bhagavad Gita also same thing is confirmed. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mattaha Sarvam Pravartate Iti Matva Bhajante Mam Buddha Bhava Samanvita. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Janmadi Yasya Yataha. That he is the root of everything. Yatha Taror Mula Nishechanena. Including Lord Shiva and including Lord Brahma. He is the super soul of everyone, the source of all emanations, and the source of Brahma and Shivas, right? Unlimited Brahmas. Anantakoti, there are Anantakoti Brahmandas in the material world. Anantakoti Brahmas, they come from the personality of Godhead. And Sadashiva, the original incarnation, who is Lord Shiva, also comes from the Supreme Lord. So this is, they are saying, Vipranam Deva Devanam Bhagavan Atma Devakam. Text 18. त्वत्त सनातनो धर्मो रक्षते तनु विश्वतम धर्मस्य परमो गुह्यो निर्विकारो भवान्मतः. Translation.
You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your manifestations of personality of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally. Purport. The statement in this verse, Dharmasya Paramo Guhya, refers to the most confidential part of all religious principles. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion of Lord Krishna in his advice to Arjuna is given by give up all the religious engagement and just surrender unto me. This is the most confidential knowledge in the executing religious principles. In the Bhagavatam also, it is stated that if one does not become Krishna conscious after very rigidly executing one's specified religious duties, all his labor in following so-called religious principles is simply a waste of time. Here also the sages confirm the statement that the Supreme Lord, or not the demigods, is the ultimate goal of all religious principles. There are many foolish propagandists who say that worship of the demigods is also a way to reach the supreme goal. But in the authorized statements of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, this is not accepted. Bhagavad Gita says that one who worships a particular demigod can reach the demigod's planet, but one who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead can enter into Vaikuṇṭha. Some propagandists say that regardless of what one does, he will ultimately reach the supreme abode of the personality of Godhead. But this is not valid. The Lord is eternal, the Lord's servitor is eternal, and the Lord's abode is also eternal. They are all described here as Sanātana or eternal. The result of the devotional service, therefore, it is not temporary, as is the achievement of heavenly planets by worshipping the demigods. The sages wanted to stress that although the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, says that he worships the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, actually, the Lord is worshipable not only by the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, but also by the demigods.
Further, the sages began to say, you are the source of eternal occupation of all living entities. The word dharma is translated as eternal occupation here. Dharma is occupation. Sanatana dharma is eternal occupation. So many times people have this doubt, where this word Sanatana dharma comes from. Here it comes. Okay. Canto 3, chapter 16, text 18. Tvattaha sanatano dharmo rakshate tanu visvitam. By your multi manifestations, you always protect religion. He comes as Narasimha, he comes as Vamana, he comes as Matsya, Kurma, Varaha. Multi-various incarnations to protect the religion. You are the supreme object of all religious principles. And in our opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally. So these are the very 5 beautiful glorifications, adjectives they are using for the Supreme Lord. Srila Prabhupada explains, Dharmasya paramo guhyo. What is this parama guhya dharma? So parama guhya dharma is the most confidential part of all religious principles. And that param guhya dharma is that this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that the Supreme Lord is a personality and one should render the personal devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Right. So this is the param guhya. And Prabhupada says param guhya is being explained here as sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami mahasuchah. So this is the supreme confidential message. And before this verse also the Lord said, Shrunu me, now hear some very, very confidential message from my side. And the message is, become devotee of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed, Srila Prabhupada says, in Srimad Bhagavatam, that all one's religious activities should ultimately conclude towards the arising of love of Godhead. Otherwise, if they do not do that, na utpadeyet yadiratim sharama eva hi kevalam. They are simply called as the useless labor. Sharama eva hi kevalam. And there are many, many examples given. Therefore, the purpose of religion is to arouse love of Godhead. Right? One has done all different types of religion, but if end of the day, if there is no love of Godhead, then that is not considered as a great religion. It is simply a show bottle. Bhagavad bhakti hinasya jati shastri japastapah apranasya eva devasya mandanam lokaranjanam. People want to do some big yagya, so much of dhua will come that everybody's eyes are watering. And if that is not going to increase your love of Godhead, then it is mandanam lokaranjanam. You will just make your ceiling black and and some sense of goodness, but it is just it will just be more a lokaranjanam. And therefore, it is very important that every spiritual activity, every activity or every religious activity should lead to Bhagavat Prema, rise in our Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says there are many foolish people who equate worshipping the Supreme Lord with worshipping other in anything and everything and devatas. But Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam very clearly describe this is not the case. Bhagavad Gita says, Yanti deva vrata devan pitrun yanti pitruvrataha bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyashinopimam. That one who worships the devata will go to the abode of the devata. And one who worships me will come back to me, the Vaikuṇṭha loka. So sometimes people say, no, you just imagine whatever type of worship you want. You imagine your God, you imagine your paddhati, and and this is how you will attain the perfection. No, that is not the case. The perfection will differ from one perfection to another perfection. You cannot have yatomat tatopat. As is your opinion, is your way. No. Different way will lead to a different destination. We cannot go to the railway station or airport and we'll say that I will sit in any aeroplane, any train, and ultimately I will reach the destination. No, sir. If you sit in aeroplane which is going to Chicago, you will land up in Chicago. If you are sitting in aeroplane which is going to Afghanistan, you will end up in Afghanistan. So, Prabhupada says, the abode of the Lord is eternal, whereas the abodes of the devatas, they are only for one manvantara, and very in detail we have seen how the pralaya takes place and how these abodes are destroyed and they are again recreated. So the result of everything is not the same thing. And similarly, the result of devotional service is the attainment of Vaikuṇṭha, which is different than the result of worshipping the demigod. Bhagavad Gita is still light. Bhagavatam is very heavy. Bhagavatam says that by worshipping the demigods and trying to cross over the material nature, it is like trying to hold the dog's tail and cross over the Atlantic. Right? So, of course, that doesn't mean that we disrespect demigods. No, because the demigods, they themselves are very great devotees. Right? They themselves are very great devotees. Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambho. We have seen this for Durga Devi, Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha. But everything is not one. So this is, Prabhupada says, this is being, propaganda is being made popular nowadays. Further, Srila Prabhupada says that the sages wanted to stress, although the Lord, out of his mercy, he says that he worships the brāhmaṇas and devatas, but actually he is the ultimate object of worship for not only the brāhmaṇas and Vaishnavas, but also the greatest of the great demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Yeah.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.